Hebrews chapter 10, verse 7. Let's begin now. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 7. Everybody that's on the screen, we appreciate you taking your time out to join us. You know, our sister Chelsea and Ray, always faithful, and we appreciate y'all. All our people that's out of town, we appreciate y'all. And Lord will, if it be the Lord will, He get y'all here sooner rather than later. Hebrews 10 and 7. He say, then said I, lo, I come in the volume of the book. It's written of me to do thy will, O God. So that's what we sit back and look at. Let's look at John chapter 6, verse 44. This man sat back and he says, he in the whole book. And in the whole book is written of him, and it was for him to do the Father's will. Now we have to sit back and look at, we need to be seeking to do the Father's will. See, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. A lot of brothers and sisters have no understanding. None whatsoever. We know that if you without understanding, brethren, what are you worried of? Death. See, a lot of Hebrew Israelites will come back and tell you, see, understanding is keeping the commandments. But hold on, since I said it. John chapter 6, verse 27. Matter of fact, hold John chapter 6, verse 26. And then after that, we'll look at 1 Peter chapter 1. John chapter 6, verse 26, and we're going to look at 1 Peter chapter 1, probably about verse 21. We'll see what it is when we get there. You know, for some of y'all who ain't never heard me preach before, we cover a lot of ground. We hit a lot of places. I know y'all done heard precept on precept, line upon line, but you may have never seen it executed like this before. He said, Yahshua answered them and said, truly, truly, I say unto you, you seek me not because you saw the miracles, but because you did eat of the loaves and were filled. Labor not for the meat which perish. That's why we're telling y'all need to, don't let your job be your God. Because you got to get up and you got to work. And you got to do these things. But that man told you, don't labor for the meat that perish. Because guess what? That money pass away. All the stuff you can purchase, that stuff can pass away. Let's see what he told you to work for. He said, labor not for the meat which perish, but for the meat which endure unto everlasting life, which the Son of Man shall give unto you. For him hath God the Father sealed. That's what you need to be working for. All that stuff getting caught up in Hebrew culture and all that good stuff, that stuff all well and good. That ain't going to get you everlasting life though. I always hear these niggas talking about Hebrew. See, you got to have a Hebraic mind. I don't need to have a Hebraic mind. Matter of fact, hold what you got. Come on around here to 1 Corinthians chapter 2. I don't need no Hebraic mind. I'm going to show you the mind I got. This the mind I got to have. I ain't worried about having no Hebraic mind. Hebraic mind ain't going to do nothing for me. That ain't going to do nothing for me. 1 Corinthians chapter 2 by verse 16. Matter of fact, make it 13. Y'all just bear with me. We got a lot of ground to cover tonight. We might not even be able to cover it. I know we got that room reserved. I know everybody don't like to go in there and that do. But we got a lot of ground to cover. I want to be able to put some of this stuff on tape. If not, we just got to wait. He said, which things also we speak, not in the words which man wisdom teach, but which the Ruach HaKodesh teach, comparing spiritual things with spiritual. Now I said, you know, a lot of people will sit back and they'll be like, see, it's the Spirit that teaches. But which one of you brothers know why he would say we comparing the spiritual thing with spiritual, the things that the Spirit teach? Y'all know what that would go with? Any brothers know? Let's look at Isaiah chapter 34, verse 16. We still going to hit that 1 Peter chapter 1. We still holding John chapter 6. But we need to look at 2 Peter chapter 1 too. Because he say comparing spiritual thing with spiritual. So let's see why he would say that. Let's look at Isaiah 34 and 16. Because my brothers know there was a nigga. I can't seem to remember his name. But he told me that you didn't need law and prophets to validate an epistle letter. I can't remember his name for the life of me. It might not be important. Start with a J. That's what it was. Start with a J. It's coming to mind, but I don't want to speak it because then my mouth going to taste like dookie. I don't want to speak it. I don't want to speak it. He better be hope. It looked like the Lord sparing him, Qual, because Saul ain't got back with me. It looked like the Lord sparing. It looked like the Lord don't want it to go get it. Because I was ready to. I was ready to. You want to say, like Black Brother said in Minister Society, he said, I had to get it. He say, seek ye out the book of Yah and read. No one of these shall fail. None shall warn her mate, for my mouth it have commanded, and his spirit it have gathered them. So you sit back and look at that, what he said, my mouth it commanded it. So let's see how his mouth commanded it. 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 19. Let's see how his spirit commanded it. We could look at 2 Timothy 3 and 16, but I'm going to spare you. 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 19. We could look at that, but I'm going to spare you. I'm going to spare you. He said, we also have a more sure word of prophecy, whereunto you do well that ye take heed, as unto a light that shine in a dark place until the day dawn and the day star arise in your hearts. Knowing this first, that no prophecy of the scripture is of any private interpretation. That's why he said we don't teach with man's wisdom. For prophecy came not in old time by the will of man, but Kodesh men of God spake as they were moved by the Ruach HaKodesh. So that means God moved in the spirit. That means the Spirit's the one manifested the word, because the Spirit was speaking through men. Who just called in to join them? I guess they're going to hold that peace. But y'all hear that? That makes sense for you. So it's the Spirit that come back and show these things. Now what we're doing is we just adding and we just line the word up with the word. Back to 1 Corinthians chapter 2. See, a lot of dudes say stuff, they don't have no word to back nothing. They be like, Ephraim is a cake not turned. See, that mean color, brother. Because see, when you look at a pancake, it's this color. Come on, man. Okay, you're all right. You know what I'm saying? See, that's what that means, because that's talking about that pancake, brother. Nigga, please. Talking about no color, no person. Don't be no dummy. You got no Bible to line that up. Verse 13. He said, which things also we speak in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, not in the words which man wisdom teach, but which the Ruach HaKodesh teach, comparing spiritual things with spiritual. But the natural man receive not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him. Neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned. But he that is spiritual judge all things, yet he himself is judged of no man. Nigga, be quick to say, can't nobody judge you. Paul just sat back, told you use a lie. Paul says, spiritual man judgeth all things. And he ain't judged by no man. Ain't no way you're going to be able to judge him. He ain't doing nothing wrong. How would you be able to judge him? He lined up with the word. But look what he told you though. For he who have known the mind of the Lord, that he may instruct him. But we have the mind of the Messiah. Let's look and see where Paul got that from in Isaiah chapter 40. Who said, who don't know the mind of y'all, that you might teach him? That's what niggas trip me out, telling me right this here. Wow, man, I don't think it. I remember this girl told me, he's not in the business of hell. My God don't care about nothing about no weed. I said, you're right. Satan don't care nothing about it. You know what I'm talking about? But y'all do. How you going to sit back and tell y'all what he teach and what he deem right? So you teaching the Lord now? That's a dangerous way of thinking right there now. Make it verse 12. Isaiah 40 and 12. He said, who hath measured the waters in the hollow of his hand, and meted out heaven with the span, and comprehended the dust of the earth in a measure, and weighed the mountains in scales, and the hills in a balance? Who have directed the Spirit of Yah, or being his counselor, have taught him? With whom took he counsel, and who instructed him, and taught him in the path of judgment, and taught him in knowledge, and showed to him the way of understanding? So now how are we going to sit back and tell y'all what's right? When he said, who showed him the way of understanding? When Yahshua is the way. And he came to give us an understanding. Because that's what 1 John 5 and 20 say, the Son of God has come and given us an understanding. That we might know him that is true. And we might be in him that is true. Even his son Yahshua the Messiah. This is the true God and eternal life. So if Yahshua came to show us the way of understanding, how you going to turn around and tell God what's right and what's wrong? Each one of us have been children. Each one of us got parents. I know full well ain't none of y'all with no true assurance in your heart looked at your parents and told them what was right and what was wrong and meant it. I'm talking about as a child. Now you about to get older, you hit your teens, then you begin to see certain stuff your parents be doing and you be like, nah, you know, ma, this ain't right. You know what I'm talking about? Stuff that they doing as individuals. But a lot of stuff they told you that, man, you ain't got no business looking at no adult telling them nothing like that, unless they doing something that you know is like totally like touching you or abusing you or something. We know y'all don't abuse nobody. You just abuse yourself. But come on over here and look at John chapter 6. We come back to John's verse 44. We still got to look at 1 Peter chapter 1. This is amazingly warm. You alright over there, Jim Dandy?
No.
Got a headache?
No, I was out of there.
I know you
I
are.
was out of there.
Yeah, should have took you a nap. You want to play my park all day?
Yeah. It was correct. Get that out of that. That's usually the plan to go take a nap.
Yeah, but you had to go around there messing with Vinny. One of these days, chapter 6, verse 26 again, or 27. One of these days, we got to go up there and watch him blow wreck on the basketball court, shooting all them bad jump shots. Hey, y'all ever met a nigga give himself his own nickname? Nigga, this is a nigga we know we go play ball with. That nigga say, I'm the Black Mamba. They call me, the Ranchula. Nigga, nobody call you that. You call yourself that. Can't give yourself no nickname. Especially when you suck. At least compared to the men you're naming yourself after. Labor not for the meat which perish, but for the meat which endure unto everlasting life, which the Son of Man shall give unto you. For him hath God the Father sealed. Then they said unto him, what shall we do that we might work the works of God? Yahshua answered and said unto them, this is the work of God, that you believe on him whom he hath sent. Now you got to sit back and ask yourself, if you ain't never heard of Yahshua, how you believe on him? Any of y'all feel like you don't believe on Yahshua, but you ain't never been taught of him? How many of y'all believe that? Just be honest. Before you had the opportunity to hear of him, did you believe that? Now I'm different because I didn't know nothing. You know what I'm talking about? So my experience was a little different because I came in knowing I knew absolutely nothing. You know what I'm talking about? Because I never went to no Sunday churches. I never dealt with the book. So I didn't have a thought or belief that I had in the man. You know what I'm talking about? Now my little sister just said, rose her hand and said that. But I know a lot of y'all probably felt like you believed on the man, and the man come back around and showed you. You had no idea. You had no idea what you were doing. 1 Peter chapter 1. I say my situation is different, because my sister know. You know I ain't deal with no book deal. You ain't never hear me talk about it. I ain't know nothing about nothing. So when he directed my mind to come seek this word, my mentality was drastically different than the average person. Because there was nothing for me to unlearn because I knew nothing. I was totally ignorant. You know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about 100% ignorant. When I used to say blasphemous things, I didn't even know no better. Pale can bear witness to it because we went to school together. That's my own business. 1 Peter chapter 1. Let's look at verse 21. Matter of fact, make it 19. Make it 18. Matter of fact, 17 is better. He said, if you call on the Father who without respect of person judge according to every man's work, pass the time of your sojourning here in fear. So get what? Knowing that man going to bring your works into judgment. While you here, serve it with fear. Matter of fact, hold what you got. Malachi chapter 1. We're going to get to the meat. But he need to show y'all something. Malachi chapter 1. He said, while you here, why don't you pass your sojourning here with fear? Let's see what the Lord said. Let's see what y'all got to say about the matter. Let's see what Yahshua got to say about the matter. Malachi 1 and 6. He said, a son honor his father, and a servant is master. If I didn't be a father, where is my honor? And if I be a master, where is my fear, saith Yahweh of hosts? Unto you, O priests that despise my name, and ye say, wherein have we despised thy name? Look what he said though. You have offered polluted bread upon my altar, and ye say, wherein have we polluted thee? And that you say the table of Yah is contemptible. When we sit back and look at it, when we offer half works, unclean works, we offer polluted bread, and then man offer. Remember, he said a little leaven, a little leaven, leaving the whole lump, ain't it? So that means you bringing this man sin, think he's supposed to take it. But you heard this man say, that man said, if I be a father, where my respect at? And if I be a master, where my fear at? The man just told you, take your time here. Why don't you keep it in fear? While you living here, why don't you have a fear for God? Why don't you fear his word with trembling and stand on it and obey it? Come on back to 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 18. That's what you got to look at. A lot of you ain't been sojourning your time here in fear. You got to get to the point when you feel like committing sin, you too scared. Like people say, you better not say that. He going to strike you down. That's how you supposed to be living your life. So you would sit back looking for lightning to come down out the sky when you should have been looking for this man to make your heart stop. Make you have a stroke. Wake up one day, you got cancer in your titty, next thing you know, it across your whole body. You hear some people have prostate cancer, next thing you know, it's all in their lungs, in their mouth. It just spread like wildfire. Wake up one day, you got diabetes, you getting feet cut off. Man, get your attention one way or another. You better make sure you don't, when he gets your attention, you ain't gasping for that last breath. He said, for as much as you know that you were not redeemed with corruptible things of silver and gold from your vain behavior received by tradition from your fathers, but with the precious blood of the Messiah as of a lamb without blemish and without spot, who truly was foreordained before the foundation of the world, but was manifest in these last times for you, who by him do believe in God, that raised him up from the dead and gave him glory, that your faith and hope might be in God. That's when you got to start looking at it. Your faith and hope need to be in God. But let's get to work. Y'all ready to get to work? Y'all figure like we probably working already. We ain't started yet. Let's look at Ezekiel chapter 26. Now it's time to start looking at something. 26. Ezekiel chapter 26. Matter of fact, before I even get to Ezekiel chapter 26, I want y'all to look at Ezekiel chapter 28. And I want you to look at verse 1. And I'm going to look at verse 1 because I'm going to see who remember of our members who were with us. We're going to look at Ezekiel chapter 28, verse 1. And if any of y'all there on the screen, go ahead and hit something there, let me know you're breathing. And let me know you're there. So I can know who there. I might ask y'all a question. I want y'all to type it. I'm going to let y'all get involved tonight. Y'all ain't going to be able to sit back just looking and watching. Y'all ain't know that we got that social stream. I'm going to make you type. Huh? Hold on. We scared to type now. I put you on blast like that. I ain't saying. But let's look at verse 1 though. The word of Yah came unto me, saying, Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, thus saith Yah, because thy heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am a God, and I sit in the seat of God, in the midst of the seas, in the midst of the seas, in the midst of the seas. Yet thou art a man and not God, though thou set thy heart as the heart of God. Who remember how that pertained to the Messiah? And I mentioned this midst the seas for a reason, because we've been dealing with things with that 12 tribe chart. I guess we'll touch Zebulon while I'm at it. I told you we got a lot of ground to cover. We might not even hit everything tonight. Who remember how this pertained to the Lord? You remember what? He said, you set your heart as the heart of God. He said, but you not God, you a man. So you sit in the seat of God. You ain't God, you's a man. Who know how that pertained to the Lord? Who remember?
People was trying to walk on water.
Any of you brothers and sisters remember? Any of you brothers remember? So, you know, when I say anybody remember, that means I'm speaking to Pale, I'm speaking to Glover, I'm speaking to Barry. Kim, you wasn't with us yet. You might have heard it. Qual, I know I done showed it to you. You know what I'm talking about? I'm talking to y'all. Y'all don't remember? I know you remember, but the rest of them, they need to remember. Let's look at John chapter 10. They don't remember. We got to bring it to your remember. They don't remember. John chapter 10, verse 30. For any of those who've been on them conference calls with it this week, it's a lot different when I go to dealing with the congregation. It's a little different. It'll be sometimes I might give you a little exhortation and no, but that's for informational purposes. It's a little different right now though. He say, I and my Father are one. Then the Jews took up stones again to stone. Yahshua answered them, many good works have I showed you from my Father. For which of those works do you stone me? The Jews answered him, saying, for a good work we stone thee not, but for blasphemy, because thou, being a man, make thyself God. Ain't that what Ezekiel just said? Now let's look at something. Why is that important that they say he's standing in the seat of God in the midst of the seas? Why is that important? What does that mean in the midst of the seas? Which one of the brothers you know what that means in the midst of the seas? Exactly, in the midst of the people. But let's get a scripture to verify that in Revelation chapter 17. Revelation chapter 17. Make sure I got the verse that I want. Revelation chapter 17, verse 14. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called chosen and faithful. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou saw where the horse sit are peoples, and multitudes, and nations, and tongues. So he says him sitting in the midst of the seas, that would mean he was in the midst of the people. Because what prophet told us about this man being in the midst? You remember? That was Zephaniah told us that in the 3rd chapter. Said just Yah is in the midst. You always see when he resurrected, he was in the midst. Remember when he said 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I'm in the midst. Because I'm in the midst of the seas. I'm in the middle of the people. That's why you look at the tree of life. It was in the midst of the garden, because I'm in the midst of the people. But let's look at Genesis chapter 49. Let's deal with Zebulon real fast. Anybody remember what Zebulon name means? Verse 13. Genesis 49 and 13. Anybody remember what Zebulon name means? Huh? Dwell. So that means we looking and talking about when you see Zebulon, that means the indwelling. The dwelling. Look what he say. The Zebulon shall dwell at the haven of the sea, and he shall be for a haven of ships, and his border shall be unto Zidon. Now I can't remember what group of people them niggas say Zebulon is. Who know? I don't know. Any of you brothers know what group of? Any of you brothers know what group of people they say? They say them Panamanians. They say that's Panamanians. Now how you get a Panamanian nigga out of there? What that nigga said in Fade and Fool? He said a pretty nigga, the Panamanian nigga, sell all the coke. How you get one of them niggas out of this? That man say that Zebulon shall dwell at the haven of the sea. What place is the haven of the sea? Anybody know what place is the haven of the sea? Huh? Jerusalem. Remember we talked about this a couple weeks ago, how Jerusalem will be like the Garden of Eden. There's 4 different rivers surrounding that. It's all manner of seas around Jerusalem. Anyway, it's the Black Sea. Isn't that what it's called? It's all manner of seas. This is the haven of the sea. If it's a haven, that means it's a safe place, right? Revelation chapter 20. Revelation chapter 20, about verse 9. We'll look at verse 7. I ain't going to go into great detail in that. We'll just show the one place where it come from. He said, when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the 4 quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number whom is as the sand of the sea. And they went up on the breadth of the earth, and compassed the camp of the saints about, and the beloved city. And fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. Let's look at Ezekiel 39, where he got that from. He said he'll be a haven. That means this is a safe place. Now he just said the camp of the saints. Let's see something about this camp in Ezekiel chapter 39. We ain't going to spend too much time on Zebulon, but they'll tell you there's some Panamanians. I didn't get, ain't nobody think about no Panama Canal back then. Pardon me, it's Ezekiel 38 and 13. Or actually 10. Well, we'll look at verse 8 so you can see where that came from. Y'all go back, read it on your own time. Look what he said. After many days thou shalt be visited, just like Satan was expired, removed out of his pit. In the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword, and is gathered out of many people, against the mountains of Israel, which have always been waste, but is brought forth out of the nations. They shall dwell safely. All of them sounds like a haven. Sounds like a haven. And them fake Jews over there got the nerve talking about this scripture was fulfilled. And they brought their penis sucking behinds back in there in 1948. Around here putting their mouth on little boy penis and giving them herpes. He said, thou shalt ascend and come like a storm. Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land. thou and all thy bands and many people with thee. Thus saith Yah, it shall come to pass that at the same time things shall come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought, and thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest. If we at rest, what that mean doesn't happen? Huh? That means Yahshua done came. Remember he said if Joshua son of Nun had given them rest, he wouldn't have spoke of another day. We done came back into the land. We had peace now. Remember he said the land that's brought back from the sword. We already know from looking at it, when we return to go back to Jerusalem, these people going to make war with us. He said the land been brought back from the sword. They've been gathered out of many people. He said the place that's been made waste has been brought forth out of the nation. They're going to dwell safely for all of them. He said he's a haven for ships. You look at, what's another name for ship? What's another name for ship?
Hope.
Vessel. Haven for vessels. A haven for vessels. And then he said, matter of fact, we'll look at it. We'll just look at it. Look at 1 Timothy, 2 Timothy chapter 2. Haven for vessels. Don't you know there's precious vessels inside the house of God that were used for the pertaining to sacrifices in the service of God? Would they be safe in there? 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 20. This is a wonderful book. Greatest thing ever authored. And it was authored by the mouth of God. Niggas had to nerve to say the Bible was written by man. Is that what you want to think? Just because a man put his hand down and went to write, and if you want to think he wrote it, be my guess. He said, but in a great house there are not only vessels of gold and silver, but also of wood and of earth, and some to honor and some to dishonor. And if a man therefore purge himself from these, he shall be a vessel unto honor, sanctified and meet for the master's use, prepared unto every good work. That's what we got to seek to attain, to be meet for the man use. How can the man use you if you're fit? Any of y'all, especially women, I know y'all know, would y'all serve and use dishes and cutlery and utensils that were disgusting? Would you say, here, use this fork, it's dried up rice on it, spaghetti from last week on it? You'll be appalled. There was no way you would give anybody that and say, use this. We had to start looking at ourselves like that. Can this man use us? That was 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 20. Pastor. That's what that is. I mean, let's just be honest with it. Let's go back over here to Ezekiel 38. So look what it says now. In verse 11 again. And thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely. All of them dwelling without walls, having neither bars nor gates. So when we go back and look at Zebulun, remember Zebulun means to dwell, so that means we're dwelling in the land. And Yahshua dwelling in the midst of us. Because he said he dwells, Zebulun dwells in the midst of the seas. He's a haven for ships. Come on back to Genesis 49 and 14. How do you get a Panamanian out of this? Well, I mean verse 13. And they will kick and fight you about this. Genesis 49 and 13 one more time. So Zebulun shall dwell at the haven of the sea. He shall be for a haven of ships, and his border shall be under Zidon. So if he's a haven for ships, what does that mean? You know what that means? Who knows what that means? Because the name of Yah is a strong, exactly, the name of Yah is a strong tower. And those who trust in it run into it and are safe. He'll be a haven for the people to dwell. 1 John chapter 1, verse 5. 1 John chapter 1, verse 5. Make it 3. He said, that which we have seen and heard declare we unto you, that you also may have fellowship with us. And truly our fellowship is with the Father and with his Son, Yahshua the Messiah. And these things write we unto you, that your joy may be full. This then is the message which we have heard of him and declare unto you, that God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. Ain't no way in the world you dwell in the yard and you around here living in sin. Because God is light, he ain't got no darkness in him. We already know that man don't do no evil. He said, if we say that we have fellowship with him and walk in darkness, we lie and do not the truth. But if we walk in the light as he is in the light, we have fellowship one with another, and the blood of Yahshua the Messiah, his Son, cleanses us from all sin. That's how he going to be able to dwell in the midst of the seas, because he said, I and you and me. He prayed for that, perfect in one, right? So that's how he would be a haven for the ships. How would it be his border beat his out on? Because you know he got dominion over the whole earth. We already remember that. Who remember when he said that in Micah, he'll go back to the first dominion? Y'all remember when we dealt with that? Taking us back to Adam. You remember that?
Yeah.
Remember that we looked at it in Micah, the 4th chapter, and he said he's going to take us back to the first dominion. Let's look at it for those who wasn't with us. Since we got some people who ain't never been with us before, let's just look at it. Because he said his border will be under Zidon. This man's border going to be from one end of the earth to the other. Micah the 4th chapter, about verse 9. It ain't verse 9. Let me see what verse it is I want. I'll look at verse 7. He said, I will make her that halted a remnant, her that was cast far off a strong nation. And Yah shall reign over them in Mount Zion from henceforth even forever. And thou, O tower of the flock, the stronghold of the daughter of Zion, unto thee it shall come, even the first dominion. The kingdom shall come to the daughter of Jerusalem. That take us back to Adam. He the one had first dominion. He gave him dominion over the whole earth, didn't he? That's how his border going to extend to Zidon, because he said the same thing in that prayer for Solomon. He prayed for him that he would have dominion from one end of the earth to the other. Yahshua going to rule from one end of the earth to the other. They say, how these people going to say this Panamanians that they border going to extend to Zidon, and Panamania is in Central America? Where is Zidon at in Central America? Anybody know a country near Panama? I don't know. Is Nicaragua near Panama? I ain't trying to be funny right now, though. I'm dead serious. Huh?
Yes, it's Nicaragua and Panama.
Nicaragua, that's what I'm thinking about. What his name was? Manuel Noriega. If you was an 80s baby, you know who Manuel Noriega is. If you're not, then you don't know who I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about? How you get, y'all know where Zidon is? Because that Prince of Tyrus is in that area of Zidon that he's speaking to in Ezekiel 28. That's an African nation that is in what we call the Middle East. Go look on the map and find out where Tyre and Zidon at. It surely ain't near Panama. Come on back to Ezekiel chapter 28. Zebulon sitting there show you. Zebulon mean to dwell. When that man say he gonna dwell in the midst of the seas, well, he be a haven in the seas. Let me get that right. I don't want to say the man. Get the man word wrong. Let me see that what he said. He said he'll dwell at the haven of the sea and be a haven for ships. That man was telling you he was going to dwell in Jerusalem and have a place for his people to dwell. It's about no Panamanian. It's about a Panamanian when you're stupid. Verse 3 of Ezekiel chapter 28. He said, behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee. With thy wisdom and with thy understanding, thou hast gotten thee riches, and hast gotten gold and silver into thy treasures. By thy great wisdom and by thy traffic, thou hast increased thy riches. Thy heart is lifted up because of thy riches. Therefore thus saith Yah, because thou set thy heart as the heart of God. Behold, therefore I will bring strangers upon thee, the terrible of the nations, and they shall draw their swords against the beauty of thy wisdom, and they shall defile thy brightness. They shall bring thee down to the pit. Thou shalt die the death of them that are slain in the midst of the seas. So if he died the death of them that are slain in the midst of the seas, that means he going to die the death of them that are slain in the midst of the people. And where was he at when he was on the tree? Let's look and see. Luke chapter 23. Let's look and see. Matter of fact, we'll look at Luke chapter 23, then John chapter 19. This should come to y'all mind, Luke 23 by verse 32. This should come to mind when we dealt with as it happened to a fool, so it happened to me. We have to sit back and look at it. As he said that they'll take some of you and cast you into prison. And he's saying, and you give you tribulation 10 days, but be faithful even unto death, and I'll give you a crown of life. Because guess what? They put fools in prison. Because you got to be a fool to go out here and commit crimes to go to prison. To be surrounded with 70 men every day. Ain't no wise men finna go be laid up. They have to be locked up and surrounded by men every day. So when we sit back and follow the Messiah, that's why he say we fools for the Messiah's sake. Because people say you got to be a fool to do the stuff y'all do. To be willing to die, be beaten and suffer, and be treated all roughly. So you got to be a fool. Luke 23 and 32. He said there were also 2 other malefactors with him to be put to death. And when they came to the place which is called Calvary, they crucified him and the malefactors, one on the right hand, other on the left. John chapter 19, verse 30. He said he's going to die the deaths of those in the midst of the seas. That means he died right in the middle of the people. We established the seas are people, right? And a multitude, wasn't it a great multitude out there screaming for a death? Let some of these Hebrew Israelites tell you, they tell you that Ezekiel 28 talking about the devil. How many of you brothers and sisters ever been told Ezekiel 28 about the devil? And say, when did the devil get slain in the midst of the seas? When did he get some rich? We're going to deal with them riches being increased. He said, when Yahshua therefore had received the vinegar, he said, it is finished. And he bowed his head and gave up the ghost. Therefore the Jews therefore, because it was the preparation that the body should not remain upon the cross on the Sabbath day, for that Sabbath day was a high day, besought Pilate that their legs might be broken and that they might be taken away. Then came the soldiers and brake the legs of the first and the other which were crucified with him. But when they came to Yahshua and saw that he was dead already, they brake not his legs. So he died the death of them in the midst of the sea. He died just like them. There's a great multitude out there watching. But let's see how he increased with his riches. Proverbs chapter 13. We might not hit everything. I want to hit Hosea chapter 7. I got some stuff in Genesis too. Lord, well, we just going to have to wait. I can't hit everything tonight. I ain't even going to try to jam all that in one thing. That wouldn't even be fair. I got a whole bunch of stuff I want to share with you. We just going to have to be patient. Everybody all right though? Praise the Lord. Proverbs chapter 13, verse 8. The ransom of a man's life are his riches, but the poor he'll not rebuke. What y'all think that's talking about? A ransom of a man's life are his riches. What do y'all think that's talking about? Y'all know what a ransom is, right? Which one of you brothers know what a ransom is? What's a ransom? Huh? There you go. Payment for redemption, right? Somebody kidnapped somebody, we want a ransom. You give me this, and I'll give you this back. Right? He said, now let's sit back and think about it now. So if a ransom of a man's life are his riches, what is this talking about when we just seen in Ezekiel? He say, by thy wisdom, this has gotten you riches and great treasure. Huh? Let's look at Matthew chapter 20. A ransom of a man's life is his riches. Matthew chapter 20, verse 27. I thank the Lord for the word. Make it 25. We're just going to touch some stuff, try to bring stuff to remember, see if everybody remembers stuff. Some of y'all just know it because we've been on those calls we've been on, because we've been talking. There you go. Show you right. A fee in exchange, most definitely. Most definitely. So let's look at Matthew chapter 20, verse 25. But Yahshua called them unto him. Ye know that the princes of the Gentiles exercise dominion over them, and they that are great exercise authority upon them. He say, but it shall not be so among you, but whosoever will be great among you, let him be your minister, and whosoever will be chief among you, let him be your servant. Even as the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister, to give his life a ransom for many. Now he said a man's life, a man's riches are his ransom, right? We quote him right. He said a ransom of a man's life are his riches. So we sitting back looking at it, there's a gain that can be acquired from this man giving his life up in it. Because he said through your wisdom you've acquired great treasures. Let's look at Proverbs chapter 8, about verse 16. Make it 12. Matter of fact, 11 is raining. Proverbs chapter 8, verse 11. Because that's what we're trying to attain to, is to get some great riches. Matter of fact, make it about verse 8. We'll start at verse 5. And we'll work our way down. Proverbs 8 and 5. He said, O ye simple, understand wisdom, and ye fools, be of an understanding heart. Now this man just sat back and said by his wisdom, he got these riches. By his wisdom. By his understanding. So now we need to see something and look at what wisdom is. What is wisdom? What is wisdom? Proverbs chapter 1 verse 7. Proverbs chapter 1 verse 7. He said the fear of Yah is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. So we can already see that the fear of Yah, that's the beginning for you to get knowledge, which means that would be the beginning of wisdom, because the fear of Yah is wisdom. Now we just read earlier, he said, if I be a father, where's my fear? He said you need to pass the time of your sojourning here in fear. Hebrews chapter 5 verse 7. He said, by thy wisdom thou hast gotten riches. How you going to be able to get these riches if you ain't got no fear? If you don't have no respect, no reverence for God, if you have no fear for God whatsoever, how you going to get these riches? How you going to get them? Yahshua said it told you himself. He said if you ain't been faithful in which is another man, he said how will God commit to your trust the true riches? How you going to get the things that you desire and you ain't even being faithful with carnal things? Hebrews chapter 5 verse 7. Who in the days of his flesh, when he offered up prayers and supplications with strong crying and tears, unto him that was able to save him from death, and was heard in that he feared. And though he were a son, yet learned he obedience by the things which he suffered. A lot of y'all ain't learned obedience because you're not taking no chastisement or suffering for the word. See, that's why the man told you, take up your cross daily and follow me. Let the same mind be in you, the same mind that was in the Messiah Yahshua, that he that suffered in the flesh cease from sin. So you go begin and you look at the things that you suffer for the word, it's to get you to learn to obey. Like I done told some of y'all before, and I'm going to tell you again, you try to block the suffering because you don't want to obey. That's why we mentioned the things earlier. Just like we were talking to some of the brothers, look here, we know like this here, hey man, some niggas like right wearing KD shoes. They hard, but we don't wear no Nikes. Like this here, some of you women might like to wear jewelry, but if you're going to be learning obedience, you're going to have to suffer and go without it. You might like putting on makeup, but if you want to be saved, you're going to have to suffer and go without it. You might like to sip a little yak or drink a little beer, but if you want to be saved, you got to go without it. That's how you're going to learn obedience, from denying yourself from the things that the flesh wants so the spirit can be satisfied. See, the spirit can't be satisfied when you constantly satisfying what your flesh wants. Because if you steady giving up what the flesh wants, that means your life ain't been no ransom. Therefore, you can't get no riches because you ain't gave yourself up. That's why that man told you, he that loveth his life shall lose it, but he that loses his life shall gain it. So when you give up your life, you can attain some riches. That's following the pattern of the Messiah. He gave up his life. That was his riches. There was something for him to be gained for dying. There's something to be gained for dying. But you don't want that gain because you don't want to die. You still want to try to hold on to the last bit of yourself and the things that you want and the thing that you want to do, and that what you're going after is going to go to hell with you. And we don't consider that. We don't weigh that out in our minds because I just want to do it. I just want to do it. If the man say don't do it, why do it? It don't make sense. Look what he said, and being made perfect. So guess what? Because he feared and he learned obedience from the things that he suffered, he was made perfect. He became the author of eternal salvation unto all them that obey him. So ain't no way in the world you're going to be made perfect if you're not willing to suffer and you don't fear. Right, the Proverbs chapter 8. How's that going to work? How you going to get the thing? How you want the things the Messiah got to give you, but you don't want to follow his pattern? The man said if you walk in light as he is light, then his son is able to cleanse you from all sin. So if you're going to be cleansed from all sin, you're going to have to do these things. Amen, sister. Yes, it is. We have been abusing ourselves, but we can't sit back and look at all the time that we done lost. We got to look at the time that's ahead of us, right? As he said, redeeming the time. So now the Lord gave us the ability to buy back the time. You know what I'm talking about? That where we can come through and we can get this thing right. And we can get this thing right. But just like you say, you got to have work to do. That's all the only reason you need a preacher. Because if you ain't got a preacher, guess what that means? You ain't got a God, because you ain't got nobody to teach you of God. Can't teach yourself of God. Don't let the Hebrew tell you that. We were talking about this the other day. These Hebrew niggas say they spend 12 to 14 hours studying, still stupid. These niggas spend 12 to 14 hours studying, still telling you that's Genesis about Zebulon, talking about a Panamanian. Talking about Issachar, talking about a Mexican, they like to work and they be tired. Still telling you when he say Israel is my firstborn. See, that's talking about us. Okay. You did all that studying, you still don't know what he's talking about. Proverbs chapter 8 by verse 5. So now when we look at being of an understanding heart, we already spoke on that. That Yahshua came to give you an understanding that he is in the volume of the book, and that you might believe on him whom the Father has sent. And through this understanding, you begin. Let's look at Luke chapter 24, verse 44. Let's see what the man did. See what he did. Luke chapter 24, verse 44. Because Paul told you something. I think we'll look at it in 2 Corinthians chapter 13. We're going to sit back and we're going to look at it. We're going to look at it. I'm going to hold on. We're going to look at it in a minute. Luke chapter 24, verse 44. And he said unto them, these are the words which I spake unto you while I was yet with you, that all things must be fulfilled, which were written in the law of Moses, and in the prophets, and in the Psalms concerning me. Then opened he their understanding, that they might understand the scriptures. So he sat these men down and showed them the whole book was about them, that they might get an understanding of the plan of salvation. That they might get an understanding the works and the mysteries of Yah. Keeping the law, statutes, and commandments show you got a good understanding, because that show you fear God. Psalms 110, 111 and 10. Let's see where they get that at. Psalms 111 and 10. Guess what? When you respect God, you know Yahshua was made unto us wisdom. Paul told us that in 1 Corinthians chapter 1. So when you begin to have the fear of Yah, you begin to develop Yahshua in you, because he heard and that he was heard and that he feared. You begin to take on the attribute of a son, because you respect your father. That's why he tell you to fear Yah, the beginning of wisdom. The fear of Yah, the beginning to understanding of becoming a son. Psalms 111 and 10. The fear of Yah is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all they that do his commandments. His praise endure forever. You got a good understanding when you do his commandment. 1 John chapter 3 verse 21. We come back to Luke chapter. We're good with Luke chapter 24. 1 John chapter 3 verse 21. He said a good understanding have all those that do a commandment. Let's see what his commandments is. Make it 22. 1 John 3 and 22. Let's see what his commandment is. Thank the Lord for the word. 1 John 3:22, he said, whatsoever we ask we receive of him, because we keep his commandments and do those things that are pleasing in his sight. I want to sit back and I want y'all to ask yourself this question. How many of y'all know y'all doing the things that's pleasing in that man's eyesight? Just be honest. How many of y'all know y'all doing the things that's pleasing in his sight? And if you know that you're not, then you know you need to make the proper adjustments then, don't you? And get it together. He said, and this is his commandment, that we should believe on the name of his son, Yahshua the Messiah, and love one another as he gave us commandment. And he that keepeth commandments dwell in him, and he in him. Hereby we know that he abide in us by the Spirit which he hath given us. Because Zebulon should be a haven for ships, right? A place for the people to dwell. Because that's what Zebulon mean, right? I get the people a place to dwell if they keep my commandment, which is because they keep believe on his son is to love y'all with all your heart, all your soul, and all your might, is it not? Because he's son is son. He say, believe on my son. He said, this is my beloved son, hear ye him. He said, he that honoreth the Father, honor the Son. He that honor the Son, honor the Father. John chapter 5. See, that's what's wrong with a lot of these people. Because they want you to get so caught up on being Israel. John chapter 5, verse 23. But they ain't got you honoring true Israel. The way you're not doing what the man has commanded you to do. He wants you to dwell in his son. His son dwelling in the midst of the people. He said that all men should honor the Son, even as they honor the Father. He that honor not the Son, honor not the Father which sent him. So that means you're not showing that fear, you're not showing that respect. That means you can't attain these riches. That's rough right there. That's rough right there. Because he said by his wisdom and his understanding, he attained these riches. He opened up the understanding, because Yahshua already, look at John chapter 13, verse 1. Let's see if he had all understanding. We come back to Proverbs chapter 8. We still holding Ezekiel 28. One way or another, we got to work all this stuff in, make it make sense, wrap it up in a nice clean bow. Everybody cool though? I hope everybody on the stream all right. Don't nobody want to talk to me. It's all right. I ain't going to hold it against you. I ain't gonna hold it against you. They nervous right now. I get they nervous. John chapter 13, verse 1. He said, now before the feast of the Passover, when Yahshua knew that it was hours come, when he should depart out of this world unto the Father, having loved his own which were in the world, he loved them unto the end. See, if he knew all things that he was going to depart out of this world, that means he had a wisdom and understanding. Remember when he rebuked Peter? He told Peter he had to die. He said, you savor the things that be of men and not of God. See, that's showing forth the understanding. See, it's imperative, Peter, that I leave. See, I know you don't understand this at this time because it's not given for you to understand because your heart been hard. You don't understand why I must die. But for us to be able to attain the things that we desire and we want from God, we have to be able to die. Remember, he said we were talking about this when the man who was in Bethel. We remember this here because we've been talking about it the last couple of weeks. The man that was in Bethel, when the man of God which came out of Judah died, what did he ask the people to do? Which one of you brothers remember? He said, bury me with him. That means if he buried with him, that means they dwelling together, right? And if they dwelling together, that means because we are like mind. See, he was willing to say, you know what? I know I'm going to need to die so I can be able to be with him. And you sit back and look at it. When Elisha died, they put a man in his grave. You know what happened when he touched his bones? Let's look at it. 2 Kings, I think about chapter 9. Let me look and see. Y'all don't know nothing about that story about Elisha. But you know I love Elisha. Remember, I done told you that before. Elisha was hardcore. Elisha was hardcore. Man, around here, man, I don't need all the messages. I ain't talking about none of y'all. I'm talking about some off-brand dude, man. Burn me, but I don't even know what that dude want. Nigga all the way in Nigeria, wherever that nigga at. He around there with that Ebola at. I don't want to catch it through the computer. I'm straight. I don't want no Ebola. They getting all out of whack now because they say it's in New York City, but they don't want to neglect to tell you the dude who got it, he just came from over there. He was a doctor. They don't want to tell you that. I ain't messing with nobody got Ebola anyway. 2 Kings chapter 13, I believe. Make it about verse 15. Let me see what verse 15 says. You messing with anybody got some Ebola? Who worried about some Ebola? Which one of y'all worried about Ebola? Instead of they need to be worried about Ebola. Need to be worried about if you committing sin, God gonna come get you. That's what you need to be worried about. No, we won't use verse 17. We'll leave about verse 20. He said Elisha died and they buried him. Well, we'll look at verse 14. He said, now Elisha was fallen sick of his sickness whereof he died. And Joash the king of Israel came down unto him and wept over his face and said, O my father, the chariot of Israel and the horsemen thereof. And Elisha said unto him, take bow and arrows. And he took unto them bow and arrows. And he said to the king of Israel, put thy hand upon the bow. And he put his hands upon it. And Elisha put his hands upon the king's hand. We could drop down because he see he fallen sick of a sickness. Look what he say here in verse 20 though. Elisha died and they buried him. And the bands of the Moabites invaded the land at the coming in of the year. And it came to pass, as they were burying a man, that behold, they spied a band of men. And they cast the man into the sepulchre of Elisha. And when the man was let down and touched the bones of Elisha, he revived and stood upon his feet. Why is that important for us that when we sit back and look at it, this man touched the bones of Elisha? And he revived and he caught life. Anybody know why that's important? Absolutely. 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 Because when you dwell in the Son, you got life, ain't you? You touch his body, you got life, don't you? That's what we have to sit back and look at. That's why you want to be buried with him. We don't have to look back and look at Romans chapter 6. But we know, let's look at first Colossians chapter 1, though, about verse 13. That's what we sitting back looking at. Then we can go look at John chapter 11, verse 25. Thank the Lord for the word. This book is beautiful when you got understanding. This book is beautiful. This book is beautiful. This book is beautiful. It's outstanding when you got some understanding. As me and Qual talking about last night, this thing beautiful when you got understanding. Now when you ain't got understanding, this thing is perplexing. First Colossians chapter 1, verse 12, I should say. He said, giving thanks unto the Father, which hath made us meet to be the partakers of the inheritance of the saints in light, who have delivered us from the power of darkness, and have translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son, who in the image, whom we have redemption through his blood, even the forgiveness of sins, who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature. So now we sit back and look at it, that this man's death has been able to revive us and give us life. This is what he came to do. He came to bring breath. Everybody loved to mention that. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you something. Come on back to 2 Kings. I want to say chapter 3. Because he said his man bones was able to revive you. Son just come to mind. It might be 2 Kings chapter 3. It might be chapter 4. Let me see what one I want. Son just come to mind. 2 Kings chapter 4. Let me see where it's at. What I want. 2 Kings chapter 4 about verse 30. Make it 20. Make it 28. Well, matter of fact, let's drop down a little bit so you can see what's going on. Let's look at about verse 16 so we can see what's going on. Y'all bear with me. Conclude. We'll get back to. I ain't even touched none of the stuff I want to deal with tonight. Only a little bit of it. Only a little bit of it. He said about this season, according to the time of life, thou shalt embrace a son. She said, nay, my Lord, thou man of God, do not lie unto thy handmaid. And the woman conceived and bare a son at that season. That Elisha said unto her, according to the time of life when the child was grown, it fell on a day that he went out to his fathers to the reapers. And he said unto his father, my head, my head. And he said to the lad, carry him to his mother. And when he had taken him, he brought him to his mother, and he sat her on her knees till noon, and then died. And she went up and laid him upon the bed of the man of God, and shut the door upon him, and went out. And she called unto her husband, and said, send me, I pray thee, one of the young men and one of the asses, that I may run to the man of God, and come again. Now let's drop down about verse 27. And she came to the man of God to the hill. She caught him by the feet, but because Gehazi came near to thrust her away. And the man of God said, let her alone, for her soul is vexed within her, and y'all have hid it from me and have not told me. Which one of y'all know how that pertains to the Lord? Who know how that pertains to the Lord? You got an idea, Lamar? Who know how that pertains to the Lord? Anybody got an idea? Right there, about Matthew chapter 13. Well, not 13. Right there, about Matthew 21. Let me see what chapter Matthew that is. That's absolutely right. He took her there for a reason. Let me find out where that's at. Let me remember where that's at. Help me out, Perry. You know my mind bad sometimes. Might be all that years of marijuana abuse. Quad, you can help, man. I'm trying to remember where that's at, where he told him that. I might have to go around that a loop or more. Find it a little faster. So y'all ain't gonna give me no help on it. I see how it is. I see how it is. It's all right. I'm trying to remember where that woman came and grabbed on to the hem of his garment. I can't remember. I could tell it. Mark, well, let's go over here to Mark the 5th chapter, because I could tell it to him. Now let's look at it now. We look at here in Kings. It said this woman came to this man, caught him by the feet. Gehazi thrust her away. He said, let her alone. Her soul is vexed. Verse 24. Matthew 5 and Mark 5 and 24. He said, Yahshua went with him, and much people followed him and thronged him. And a certain woman which had an issue of blood 12 years, had suffered many things of the physicians, and had spent all that she had, and nothing was better, but rather grew worse. And when she heard that Yahshua came in the press behind and touched his garment, for she said, if I may touch but his clothes, I shall be whole. And straightway the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt it in her body, that she was healed of that plague. And Yahshua, immediately knowing in himself that virtue had gone out of him, turned him about in the press, and said, who touched my clothes? And the disciples said unto him, thou see the multitude thronging thee, and sayest thou, who touched me? And he looked round about to see her that had done this thing. But the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing what was done in her, came and fell down before him, and told him all the truth. And he said unto her, daughter, thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace and be whole of thy plague. And you know, when we sit back and look at it, we sit back and look at his forth as death as being concerned. If we take hold to the skirt of this man's garment, we might be made whole if we believe he able to do it. If we able to believe that the word is able to do what it said it's able to do, our faith is able to make us whole from that plague, which is death. See, but we don't have that type of faith that woman had. And she said, if I just grab hold to him, I'll be straight. Y'all don't look at the word. If I take hold to the word, I'll be straight. But you see how that line up with Elisha? Coming up to this man, this woman come up, grabbing at his feet. He told her, leave her alone. Her soul is vexed within her. Y'all ain't showed it to me. Y'all sure didn't know who grabbed it. He said, who it is that touched me? Y'all done hid it from me. I don't know who it is. The disciples were trying to keep them people away from him. He said, I don't know who it is. Then it says she told him everything of a truth that was going on with her. Let's look at verse 28. See, then she said in 2 Kings chapter 4, then she said, did I desire a son of my Lord? Did I not say, do not deceive me? Then he said to Gehazi, gird up thy loins and take my staff in my hand and go thy way. If thou meet any man, salute him not. And if any salute thee, answer him not. Lay my staff upon the face of the child. And the mother of the child said, as y'all living as thy soul live, I will not leave. And he arose and followed her. But Gehazi passed on before them and laid the staff upon the face of the child, but there was neither voice nor hearing. Wherefore he went again to meet him and told him, and saying, the child is not awake. And Elisha came into the house, and behold, the child was dead and laid upon his bed. He went in therefore and shut the door upon them in twain, and prayed unto Yah. And he went up and laid upon the child, and put his mouth upon his mouth, and his eyes upon his eyes, and his hands upon his hands. And he stretched himself upon the child, and the flesh of the child waxed warm. Then he returned and walked into the house to and fro, and stretched himself upon him, and the child sneezed 7 times, and the child opened his eyes. And he called Gehazi and called his Shumanite. So he called her, and when she was come into him, he said, take up thy son. So he done laid on this man, and he did something. He laid on him, he put his eyes on his eyes, and his mouth on his mouth. What do people do when they put mouth on mouth in these days of time? What that's for? Who knows what that would be for? CPR, that would be what they call mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Which means he would have breathed on him, right? Who else breathed on somebody to raise somebody from the dead? Somebody else rolled somebody from the dead. Who else know who rolled somebody from the dead? Y'all know what other prophet rolled somebody from the dead? Elijah. Why you think the people, when he asked and they say who the men say they are, they say some say you Elijah. Elijah rolled people from the dead. Why would they think that? He was coming through here working the works of these men. He said, I come in the volume of the book to do thy will. How do you Hebrew Israelites don't know this stuff? Yep. Hello, who is it? They're trying to see who it was because you saying hello. They're trying to see who it was. How these Hebrew Israelites don't know this here? I know a young lady got offended because I said it. But I'm going to tell you something. Let's look at 1 Kings chapter 17. Then we'll look at John chapter 20 and 2 Corinthians chapter 13. And maybe we can swing back to Proverbs chapter 8. When you sit back and you look at it, a Hebrew Israelite can't tell you these things. A true Jew can. But a Hebrew Israelite can't do it. Because the Hebrew Israelite is carnal in their thinking. They're carnal in the way they look at the book. The veil hasn't been pulled back from their eyes. And when the veil hasn't been pulled back from your eyes, you can't be able to execute things as you should. 1 Kings chapter 17. He said, it came to pass after these things that the son of the woman, the mistress of the house, fell sick, and his sickness was sore, and there was no breath. Because when you revive, that means you didn't have any breath in you, right? Wasn't no breath in it. And she said unto Elijah, what I have to do with thee, O man of God? Art thou come unto me to call my sin to remembrance, to slay my son? And he said unto her, give me thy son. And he took him out of her bosom and carried him up into a loft where he abode, and laid him upon his own bed. And he cried unto Yah and said, O Yah my God, hast thou also brought evil upon the widow with whom I sojourned by slaying her son? That's interesting right there, ain't it, little mama? He said that he will bring evil upon this widow with who he dwelled by slaying her son. That's interesting, isn't it? Is that interesting to anybody else? How is that interesting to everybody? Why would that be interesting? That's interesting when we sit back and we think about when we dealt with that he caused the means to bring his banished unto him, that Israel was a widow. And that he ended up slaying her son, who was born out of Jerusalem. He was end up being slayed. They say, certainly our sins, my son last, and they'll reverence him, but they slayed him. A ransom of a man's life are his riches, ain't it? And they slayed him. We ain't got time. We'll deal with it more in depth another day. And he stretched himself upon the child 3 times and cried unto Yah and said, O Yah my God, I pray thee, let this child's soul come into him again. And Yah heard the voice of Elijah, and the soul of the child came unto him again, and he revived. Let's look at John chapter 20, verse 22. So this is the same thing. If you without the Ruach HaKodesh, that means you don't have breath in you, which means you don't have life. And that's very, very important. And we see right here that this man had no breath in him. This child had no breath in him. We see Elisha laying on this man to breathe breath in him. And they showing you something. Same thing that go back to Adam. John chapter 20, verse 22. Make it 21. Matter of fact, make it 19. Because it said the doors were shut, right? When Elisha came in there to revive that young man, right? That's what we just read, right? The doors were shut, right? That's what we read, right? John chapter 20, verse 19. Then the same day at evening, being the first day of the week, when the doors were shut, where the disciples were assembled for fear of the Jew, came Yahshua and stood in the midst. He's in the midst of the seas. Saith unto them, peace be unto you. And when he had so said, he showed unto them his hands and his side. Then were the disciples glad when they saw the Lord. Then said Yahshua to them again, peace be unto you, as my Father hath sent me, even so send I you. And when he had said this, he breathed on them, and said unto them, receive ye the Ruach HaKodesh. We know that's fulfilling the testimony of Adam. He breathed life into him. He breathed life into him. That's why it makes sense for you to be going in this man's sepulchre, that you might touch his bones, that you might revive and stand upon your feet. Huh? That makes sense for you? That makes sense for y'all? Talk to me now. That makes sense for y'all? That makes sense. It makes sense. You're going to have to die and go in this man's sepulchre that you might be revived. How else you going to get breath if you don't die? What you think the baptism was symbolizing? You went in this man's grave, you come out, you were revived. Huh? You know that them people were baptized, they received the Spirit, right? Showing the same similitude. They went in the grave with Elisha, come out that grave, you revived. You done touched this man's bones. Huh? This thing's serious, ain't it? I ain't talking about serious sitting back looking at, you know what you got to do, but how serious and amazing that this man was.